Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's session is going to be about how to make a dua that Allah Azza wa Jal He loves. Now, there are a number of things that we can do to make our dua something which is beloved to Allah. When we make dua, yes, we want to get the things that we want to receive from Allah, but we have to understand that Allah is in charge of knowing whether something is good for me or not good for me. Often we make a dua and we ask Allah to give it to us, but we don't know whether it's going to be good for us or not. There's a number of times in my life, in my little life, that I've made duas and I've kind of said to myself, why is it that I'm not getting what I want to get? Why is it that, this can't happen? I want it to happen. I want it to happen. And I'm making every effort in the background to get what I want to get. And every day I'm making dua for it. And I actually never got what I wanted. I just never got it. And then about 4 to 5 years later, my eyes opened to the reason why Allah never gave it. 4 to 5 years later, sometimes years later, you find out, I kind of see, wow, if I had got that thing, then this would have been my situation today. And I could see it. But at that time when I was making the dua, I couldn't see it. So often we might might ask Allah Azza wa Jal for something, and we got to remember that put Allah in charge of what we want. You can say to Allah, oh Allah, I want, for example, a job, or I want nikah with this particular person, but Allah Azza wa Jal knows your future. He knows my future. So if He decides that it's better not to get married to this person, or better not to get this job, it's better. So often people will come to me in the masjid and they'll say that, Shaykh, make a dua for me that I get this job. And I say, well, hang on a minute. You want to make this dua? Oh Allah, if this job is the best thing for me, the best job for me, then give it to me. But if there's another job better than this, then give me that other job. And it's best to always make du'as like that, to say, oh, look, Allah, I want this job, but I want you to give me the best thing. So if you look at the Prophet ﷺ's du'as, what he would say is, and this is one of the things that we need to learn from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say, Allahumma inni as'aluka min al-khayri kulli, ajilihi wa ajilihi. Ma alimtu minhu wa ma lam a'lam. So Allahumma inni as'aluka, oh Allah, I am asking you to give me goodness. Okay, give me something good. Ajilihi wa ajili, whether it's close or whether it's far away from me, whether it's immediate or whether you're going to postpone it. Ma alimtu minhu wa ma lam a'lam, whether I know of it or I don't know of it. Now, subhanAllah, this part of the dua teaches us that the Prophet ﷺ is telling us, look, there's certain times we know there's a goodness and we're asking for it and we want that goodness, but what we're doing is we're limiting it to our own knowledge. What we should do is ma alimtu minhu wa ma lam a'lam. There are certain good things that I don't even know that exist, and I might not even be asking of that, but they exist. And how am I supposed to know whether they exist? Well, I'm leaving it to you, O Allah. So if you know that something really good exists and I don't even know it exists, because there are many things that you know that are good that exist which I don't know that exist, then I want you to give them to me as well. And then the same thing is, look, same on the opposite side. Wa a'udhu bika min ash-sharri kulli, and oh Allah, I am seeking your protection from every evil and every bad thing and every bad fate and so on, everything that's bad. Min ash-sharri kulli, ajilihi wa ajili, whether it's near to me, whether it's far away from me, whether it's immediate or whether you're going to, give it later or, strike me with it later. And then he adds on, ma alimtu minhu wa ma lam a'lam, whether I know of it or whether I don't know of it. Again, look at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What he does is that, look, we know there are certain things. I don't want this bad thing. I know there's a bad thing there. Oh Allah, protect me from this, protect me from that. These are things that we can, we know of in our lives. But there are certain things which we are not aware of. And those are the things that we should also include in our dua. And that's a very comprehensive dua of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to say, which is, I may not know of it, but I still want you to protect me from those things. So the best du'as we can make are the du'as which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made. There are many, books out there that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his du'as have been collected, and you can make du'as based upon many different, books that are out there. There's a very good book, though in there are some of them, I mean, they've collected many of them that they found. Some of them may not be as authentic in that book, but nonetheless, even if you make those du'as, they will be du'as of the salihin or du'as of the pious people, or at least good du'as that are there. Though there are many sahih narrations in there. So the book's name is Al-Hizb Al-A'zam. Okay, Al-Hizb Al-A'zam. You can get this book, and there are wonderful du'as in there. And like I said to you, some of them might not be exactly what the Prophet ﷺ has made, but you don't have to have the niyyah of that, the intention of that. Even if a pious predecessor has made a wonderful du'a and it's got a good meaning to it, and it's something really good, and it's a very good way of asking Allah Azza wa Jal, then we can say that. You can make any du'a you want. Now, one of the things is with du'a is that Allah Azza wa Jal has not restricted us to have to make the du'as that the Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has made. And we're not restricted to that. Although the best du'as we can make are the du'a masnoon. So if you find a du'a which the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has made, these will be the best du'as, and we should make those du'as. But we're not restricted. Meaning that if somebody wants to make a du'a outside of that for something else, then we can make a du'a outside of that. And there are wonderful, du'as that many other predecessors have made, and we should take benefit from that as well. Now, from the du'as that the Prophet ﷺ made, there's a certain adab, and there's a certain the etiquette that the Prophet ﷺ gave for us to make du'a. One of the things to make du'a, first and foremost, is that we should have yaqeen. We should have, we should have the iman and the belief that Allah is going to accept this. Now, whether you think you're going to get what you're asking for, or whether you think you might not get what you're asking for, we need to have that as a starter. Before you make the dua, say, look, I've got the faith that Allah is going to, listen to our dua. That should be there. That's the Prophet has told us, "Udu'u Allah wa antum muqinuna bil ijaba." Ask Allah while you have faith that Allah is going to accept your dua. So that is one of the prerequisites of dua. Another one the Prophet ﷺ has told us is, for us to be present while we're making those du'as, for our mind to be present. إن الله لا يقبل دعاء رجل قلب غافل أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Allah does not accept the dua of an individual who's making dua while his mind is absent. Now, why is that? Why is there a stress on having the mind present? Can't you just say something, oh Allah, give me this, and the mind is not present? Why is there a stress? Because dua is something which has the reason why dua is so beloved to Allah is because a person is connecting themselves to Allah Azza wa Jalla, and he's lowering, or she's lowering herself in front of Allah and making a plea. Now, to do that, you need to be thinking that Allah is listening to me while I'm making this dua. You can't do that without thinking of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Okay, so think about it. Why Allah loves dua is because dua is one of those things automatically the servant humbles himself or herself in front of Allah, and Allah Azza wa Jal, is seeing this person, this individual, this servant who is lowering themselves and raising their hands. So even if you look at the sunan of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam raised his hands to his chest level, and in one narration he raised his hands to his face level. Another one he raised his hands very high, that the two white armpits of his could be seen by the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. So for a person to lower themselves and lower themselves and lower themselves, this is what Allah loves. The more you can lower yourself, the more you're probably going to be in a position that Allah Azza wa Jalla accepts this. And that's why in the beginning of a dua, so one of the first things you do is send salawat on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because there's a hadith where it is alluded to the meaning that the salawat, or sending salutation on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when you send salutation on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, between the two times that you send salutation on the Prophet ﷺ, whatever du'as you make in between is accepted. So that's why we start off the du'a with salawat on the Prophet ﷺ, and we end the du'a with salawat on the Prophet ﷺ. And that's a very good etiquette of doing that. The next thing is, after we send salutation on the Prophet ﷺ, the next thing is to actually praise Allah. And what we're doing there by praising Allah Azza wa Jal is that we're lowering ourselves again and again and again, and we're exalting Allah Azza wa Jal in our thinking. We are making Allah Azza wa Jal someone who's in, great in all aspects. And that is something which again gives many more plus points and for a person to have their dua accepted. Imagine a person who wanted their, let's just take a common example, okay? Imagine a person who's sending a president or a queen or a king in this world of ours. They're sending them a letter. Now, there's so many, I'm not saying this is exactly the thing with Allah Azza wa Jalla. No, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He listens to every person specifically, yes. But the way we present ourselves, we are likely to get a dua accepted, or unlikely to get it accepted. So when a person sends a letter to, let's say, a queen or a king or something, it depends how you've presented that letter. Now, we want to present that letter with, just before they even open the letter, they should have a wonderful presentation of that envelope. Okay, maybe a ribbon on there, maybe a red ribbon on there, maybe it's got some gold ink on there in writing and so on. These things, or maybe there's a gift with it. Maybe it's come in a parcel. Maybe it's got a very expensive kind of paper. All these things add to the fact that a king in this world, a queen in this world will actually open the letter and look at it. It has to be something personal. It has to be something. And when we write to the king or queen, we're not going to say, "Your All Highness, just give me this, give me that, give me this. We need this in our area." You're going to praise the king or praise the queen. Okay, this is what somebody would do in this world, in a normal sort of world where those people are nowhere near, not even an iota of the power that Allah Azza wa Jal has. So when we're addressing Allah Azza wa Jal, the Prophet ﷺ has given us many du'as where he praises Allah, and he's told us for us to praise Allah, although he says we're not actually able to praise Allah to what He deserves, as He ought to be praised. We're still supposed to praise Him. Okay, so there are a number of things that we can do to praise Him. Okay, and this is the beginning of our dua. So we've got our yaqeen, we've got our faith that Allah is going to accept our dua. We've also got the fact that we're going to have our mind present. Okay, then we're going to send salawat on the Prophet ﷺ. Then we're going to start praising Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, in praising Allah, we're going to extend whatever praises you can give. You can say, "Oh Allah, you are so great. You have so much mercy. You are the one who has created the heavens and the earth." And these are the same things that the Prophet ﷺ will say in Arabic. Now, you don't have to say all of those Arabic things if you don't know them. In fact, I'm going to say to you that those Arabic du'as and you're able to say, like Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar, and so on. Those Arabic du'as, it's good. Say them in Arabic, and it's a very good part of your du'a. However, the best du'as you're going to ever make are those du'as that are going to come naturally from your heart in your first language or in your mother tongue. Those are going to be some of the best ones. I remember my Ustad, Maulana Fadl Rahim, may Allah bless him, may Allah give him a very high place in Jannah. He said that often people, what they do is when they go to the Kaaba, he's heard them in Tawaf. They're going around the Kaaba and they're making dua, and what they're doing is, as they're going around the Kaaba, they're making dua. They're holding these books and they're looking inside and they're making duas. And he says it's a very good thing, no problem. But he said it would have been much more better if they put the book away. They said a few Arabic duas, fine, put the book away. Then to speak in your mother tongue or in your first language and talk to Allah direct. That is a lot more powerful, because the person's mind is going to be present a lot more. And don't forget that mind being present in dua is a massive part of the dua being accepted, right? And as a massive part of Allah Azza wa Jalla loving this dua. So for you at iftar time, Ramadan is definitely a time when dua is accepted. iftar time, before iftar time, is a massive time when Allah Azza wa Jalla wants to, it's a wonderful time where Allah wants to accept du'as. Allah's waiting for our du'as. Now, often what people will say is that I don't know what to say in my du'a. Well, if we just switched it to you being able to express yourself clearly from your heart and saying something which is in your first language, your mother tongue, you're able to do it a lot better. Okay, so let's say, for example, we're making du'a. How are we supposed to praise Allah as well? We'll say all the good things you can. Just say, Allah, you're great, you're wonderful, I love you. You've been there for me in the past. You've always been there for me. Now, I'm just trying to think like one of you guys out there who's trying to make dua. What do I say? Well, talk about your life when Allah was there. I've done this test in many different crowds. I've actually said to crowds, I've said, okay, put your hand up if you've been in a desperate situation in your life and you knew that no one else can help you except Allah Azza wa Jalla in this situation. No one can help you. That you've got this dead end in your life and no one can actually come to your rescue except Allah. Whatever it was for. I've done this test and I've found about 60 to 70% of people who have put their hands up said, yes, they did ask Allah at that time. And then I said, okay, keep your hands up if you found that dua was answered. And most of them kept their hands up. In fact, I would say more or less all of these people kept their hands up at that time. And there are moments Allah creates in a person's life that is going to do that. Now, recall those moments in your life. And in your dua, say, oh Allah, you were there for me when I asked you at that time. See, what it does is this boosts your iman. It is also something which makes you feel close to Allah. It is also something which is real in your life, which you can relate to. It is also something which praises Allah at the same time, because you're telling him how great he is and that you found him at that time. And then start to talk about the gifts Allah's given you. If you've got nothing else to say of how wonderful Allah is, then start to talk about the gifts he's given you, because that's also praising Allah. Say, oh Allah, I thank you for giving me wonderful eyesight. I thank you for making me breathe when there are others who can't breathe. I thank you for giving me such good health when others have suffered with their health. I thank you for blessing me with wealth when others don't have the wealth that you've given me. I thank you for giving me lives in my family, in my surroundings, which are wonderful lives that I have. Wife, husband, children, grandparents, uncles, aunts, whatever parents. I thank you for that. And now those thanks, what they're doing is that they're making you feel humble. This is the whole thing about dua, is that we become humble and that we praise Allah and that we see Allah in a way that we're revering him, we're holding him in a lofty position in our minds. That's the whole thing about dua. So we're praising Allah. Now, if you've praised Allah, praise Allah in whichever ways you can, and then move on to the next thing, which is what? Which is, I'm going to now give you a sequence of making dua very easy for you to go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and think, yeah, that's what I'm going to do next time when I make dua. Okay, now get ready for this. I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3, 4 of things to remember when you're making dua. And you're going to find, inshallah, you can turn your normal 2-minute dua or your 5-minute dua, you can turn it into a long dua. How do you do that? Well, straight away after you praise Allah Azza wa Jal, right? Start with yourself. Start with your problems, all right? Just start with your problems. Now, everyone's got problems. Don't tell me you ain't got problems, okay? And with your problems, what you can do is, if you want to make it even longer, is you dwell into the details of the problems, even though Allah knows the details of the problems. See, Allah likes to hear this. Zakaria alayhi salam did this. He sat there in the night time and he said, Inni wahana al-azmu minni. He said, oh Allah, my bones have become weak. وَاشْتَعَلَ الرَّأْسُ شَيْبًا. My hair has become white. وَلَمْ أَكُنْ بِدُعَائِكَ رَبِّ شَقِيًّا. But oh Allah, I have not lost my faith in the fact that you will accept my dua. Now look at the details of, he wants a son, right? He wants a son. And he's been asking for a son for a long time. But what he does is that he goes into details. He says, my bones are weak, my hair has gone white. Why does he have to mention all of that when Allah knows the situation of his bones and the situation of his hair? Because Allah loves to hear that. And why did Allah mention that in the Quran? Because Allah likes to hear that from us. So if you've got a problem, then, and you've got maybe a health problem, you might even have a financial problem, well, talk about it. Allah loves to hear it. Look at Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam when he made dua in Surah Nuh, how he spoke. He spoke, this is a whole surah, about 70 to 80% of it is one long dua he made. Right? Look at surah number 71. But in that, his details go into how the people treated him. Okay? So he says, وَكُلَّمَا دَعَوْتُهُمْ لِتَغْفِرَ لَهُمْ. Every time I call them for you to forgive them, for them to seek forgiveness from you, they took their clothing and they covered their face. وَاسْتَغْشَوْا ثِيَابَهُمْ وَأَصَرُّوا, and they put their fingers in their ears, and they started to ignore me, and they become very stubborn. Now, why go into the details of how these people took their clothing and how they covered their faces in front of Nuh alayhi salam? They do want to see him, and they put their جَعَلُوا أَصَابِعَهُمْ فِي آذَانِهِمْ. They blocked their hearing, right, with their fingers. Why go into detail in front of Allah in a dua with all this detail? You might think it's unnecessary, but why did Allah repeat those specific things he said of his dua in the Quran? Because he likes it when we do that, right? It might be mundane to say that, but you know what? These are the very things that you might say to a friend, someone who's close to you, someone who you feel attached to. You wind up after the whole of the day, you come home, you sit with your wife or you sit with your husband, and then the close one that you've got, you narrate the things that happened to you in the day. Or maybe you went to the masjid and you sat with a friend over there and you say, you know what, this is what happened to me today. All right, my boss treated me like this. Or you say to your friend over the phone or on WhatsApp or something, can you believe it, man? This is the guy who treated me like this. I mean, he said this to me. These are the exact things that Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam did with Allah Azza wa Jal in the dua. Why? Because we have no one closer to us than Allah Azza wa Jal, right? And you can break yourself, your whole day and the details of the day through a dua like this. And he says in the dua, if you look at Sayyidina Nuh alayhi salam's dua, he talks about the details of how he said to them, I called them in the daytime, I called them in secrecy. ثم إني دعوت لهم, and then I called them jihara, I called them in the open. وأعلنت لهم, and I made an announcement. وأسررت لهم إسرارا, I called them in secrecy. All these details are in there, and I'm not going to go into this further, but check out Surah number 71 and you'll see that. So one of the things after praising Allah Azza wa Jal is to go into details about myself and my life and so on, what's happening, and say, oh Allah, please help me in this, and what am I supposed to do in this? You know what, your dua is already becoming 10 minutes, 15 minutes and so on. Just do it. The next thing is after myself, all right, think about straight away your parents. Make dua for your parents. And there are duas from the Arabic that you can make, Rabbi irhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira, and so on, which are there. If you know them, you make them. If not, make dua for your parents. So now I'm going to give you a 1, 2, 3, 4 who to make dua for, okay? So once you've done parents, make dua for your grandparents. And once you make dua for your grandparents, make dua for your ancestors. Just in one go, all the ancestors. So this way, we've gone above, all right? Now go below. Right? To go below with your progeny, make dua for your wife or your husband. And if you're not married, then make dua for those people who are going to be your children, your wife and husband in the future. That's right. Make dua for your future husband, for your future wife, or for your future children. Just do it. That's completely fine. It's in the Quran. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina. Oh Allah, grant us those spouses. The spouses that we may not have right now. Okay, and dhurriyatina, also our progeny, make them the apple of our eyes. Now, subhanallah, you can make dua for those that are not there today, and we should do that. When you make dua for your children, don't stop at your children, just say progeny. If you look in the Quran, you will always find the word dhurriya, which is progeny. It's not just awlad, which is our immediate children, because progeny covers the children, the children, and the children. It covers it until the day of judgment, inshallah. So you go above with your parents, family, and all that. Then you go below with your wife, spouse, and all your children, and so on. Then make dua for your general relatives. Okay, relatives. So that's after your parents and your children. Then make dua for friends. Okay, friends and people you know. Okay, friends, colleagues. Okay, that's done. Once you've done that, then make dua for your. Now let's go with the area you're in, your local area, your country. Make dua then for the ummah at large. Okay. Now once we get to the ummah at large, we want to cover in there all the places that people have been afflicted. You know, there are many countries out there, we all know them, they've been afflicted. So talk about those situations. Or maybe there's Muslims out there who are suffering in one way or another way, and make dua for them. Right? So get a hold of this, okay? So myself, parents, grandparents, okay, wider sort of, you know, ancestors, then wife, husband, children, progeny, okay, that way, then relatives, then friends, colleagues, then my area, then my country, then my other, you know, Muslim countries out there and so on. But don't forget to make dua for the non-Muslims. Okay, we do make dua for non-Muslims. Rasulullah make dua for non-Muslims again and again and again and again, right? In his life, he made dua for those who eventually got Iman and those who didn't get Iman. So all the non-Muslims we know in our lives, neighbors, starting from people, you know, our colleagues and so on, make dua for them that they also find the sweetness of Islam. Okay, make dua generally, even for the far right out there, even for people who are against Islam, make dua for them that Allah gives them hidayah. Okay, so that's done. Now, once that's done, this was all dunya that we've just covered. Right? This is all the dunya that we've covered. Obviously, when you talk about, you know, when I've talked about myself and my problems, things that, I'm also going to talk about my future and things that I want. Okay, that's already covered when I talked about myself. So when I've done myself, parents, progeny, all these friends, family, neighbors, and, you know, the wider world, the ummah and non-Muslims, when I've done all of that, then the next thing would be that we go straight for my akhirah. So let's start with my death. So talk about how I want my death in front of Allah as well. Then I want to go after my death. And you can go to the details of death. Oh Allah, please make sure that there's white angels that come for me, take me delicately from this world, and all those descriptions you can put in there. Then you talk about the grave. Right, let's go stage by stage. Talk about the grave. Oh Allah, I want my grave like this. Make it like this for me. Make it like that for me. And then, on the day of judgment, how do I want the day of judgment? Who do I want to be next to? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want to be under the arsh and so on. I want to be in this place, in that place. I want to receive my book in my right hand. I want to have an easy account. So cover all those things. Talk about hellfire and talk about how Allah, please save me from this bad thing in hellfire, that bad thing in hellfire, and so on. Get into the descriptions. It's going to make us cry. And that's one of the wonderful things Allah likes. And if you can't cry in your dua, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Fatabako." Pretend to cry. You can even do that, like just pretend to cry. Allah loves that. That's also in a hadith. So then talk about Jannah and what I want in Jannah, right? And talk about Allah's pleasure and how I want that. You know what? This dua can become now 1 hour dua. It can become a half an hour, 1 hour. It can become 15 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on how much of these things you want to put in there and how much description you put in all these things that I've just said. Okay. So we're going to make a dua in a very short while. Before I make the dua, I just want to say to you, Jazakumullah khair, a massive Jazakumullah khair to all those people who've supported us in the links that we've got in the YouTube. In these YouTube videos, we've got links at the bottom. And we've had very wonderful support from a lot of you. And we're expecting, inshallah, more support from many of you who are out there who can give. And Allah's blessed you with whatever you've got, because we're sharing this out for the ummah. We're sharing this out for people out there. So if there's anyone who can make us reach our next target, Allah Azza wa Jal, if you can just do whatever you can to make us reach that next target, it will be wonderful from you, inshallah. I'll leave that with you. I'm going to make a dua right now, and I want you to listen to it. Because I've only got a minute to make this dua, and in this minute I'm going to try and cover as many things as I can. So put your hands up, inshallah. Sallallahu ala sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa barik wa sallim. Oh Allah, we praise you and we thank you and we give you the best of the descriptions of what our tongues would be able to give you. But oh Allah, we are not able to give that to the way you ought to be thanked and praised. So we praise you through the very words which you've praised yourself in the Quran. And all those wonderful words in the Quran that you use to praise yourself, we use the same words to praise you. Oh Allah, for myself, for my parents, for my grandparents, for my ancestors, for my children, my progeny, and my spouse. And oh Allah, for all those people who are families, who are friends, who are colleagues. Oh Allah, for all those who are in this ummah, and even for the non-Muslims, we make dua for all of them. And oh Allah, we ask you that you give all of us the best of what you have written for us in this world. Give us the best of what you have written for us in the next world. Save us from every evil that is in this world. Save us from every evil in the next world. We ask you to give us a pleasant death and for us to be resurrected amongst the prophets on the day of judgment, for us to find their company on the day of judgment, for our souls to be in Illiyin before that in Barzakh, and once we're in the company of the prophets, for us to be with them and stay with them until they enter Jannah. And let us enter Jannah with them from the first of the first that enter Jannah, and save us from all the torments of the day of judgment. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala khayri khalqi Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam. Ameen ya Arhamar Rahim. Jazakumullah khair, guys. See you for the next session, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.